So we just found out that you are interested in consulting industry, and yeah, let's just get into what is consulting about. Because, like I said, we don't really see consulting major, right?
Yeah.
So how did you even get to find out about consulting, and what is consulting?
Anytime you ask a consultant what the heck do you guys do, everybody will say it depends. So very vague industry, vague job. I start off with how I got introduced to consulting, and it was through a case interview workshop that a consulting club at Rutgers was hosting, and from that I did the case interview. I thought this was it, this is something I might want to do, and then I tested this hypothesis more in the following semesters by applying through their program, which is the consulting analyst program. We actually get to work on an actual consulting project with a real client, real business. And I enjoyed it. I have no reason to leave, and I want to try it out now as a full-time career. But what do? Essentially, you get a business problem. A business comes to you. They say, we have money's going away. We don't got money. Help us fix it. And essentially what a consultant does is give an outside perspective of what they think might be the best solution to go about fixing this business problem. And usually consulting industry exists because most of the time these problems are very complex, and a lot of the times a business usually probably won't have to deal with these issues many times over and over again. So a consulting firm who deals with these major problems for many different firms will obviously have a lot more experience than one company who's dealing with a crisis at a given moment in time.
Do you recommend consulting as something that is a great job to have?
Yeah, I think recommendation-wise, I would say yes. Do I think it's something, a good long-term career? That depends on the person. One, it's a lot of hours. If you search consulting, there's probably a lot of people with horror stories saying they work 60 to 80 hours a week. And investment bankers probably do more than that. They're doing 80 to 100-hour work weeks. So you can imagine how many hours they're working. But it's a lot of hours, it's a lot of work. But if you are able to do consulting, get into the big consulting firms, you can exit out and you will have a lot of reputation and credibility on your side. In that sense, you can kind of do anything that you want. And I think it's a great place to be starting out as a career, is because consulting in its nature is you get to work with businesses. That means you get to work with many different types of businesses in many different industries. So you get to see a lot of exposure. So good opportunity, good exit opportunities, good pay, very good pay, work-life balance, depends.
So you know how in business school a lot of people emphasize on networking?
Sure.
Is consulting also very big on networking in terms of getting an internship or job?
It's funny because I have a different perspective on this. I think a lot of people will say it's very important for you to network, talk with people, so that you have people who know you, and that way you get a better chance of getting a job. I think majority of that is BS nowadays, with especially a lot of major companies. You're just one applicant in a huge pool. I think especially if you're doing internships earlier on in the hiring process, like your sophomore year, freshman, just keep applying. It's a numbers game. Beyond that, but in terms of getting an internship and getting a job, I don't think it's that important. You can literally go on, there's an app called Fishbowl, and consultants are there just asking for referrals, which is usually what people want to get when they're networking. And you can just ask for a referral there, and people are more than happy to just give it to you because they get bonuses off of it. So I don't think networking is that important. I think the only reason why networking is important is if you want more perspective on the job that you'll be doing, or you're actually genuinely interested to learn more about this person and what work they do. I will say though, networking probably becomes a lot more important once you're in the industry, once you're out of college, because a lot of undergraduate applicants, and this is probably also different for business school, MBA, graduate school is different. Coming out of undergrad, I don't think, at least for me, my experience at Rutgers, networking hasn't been a huge part of it. But I know that later on, it's those referrals and those connections are gonna be the key to landing new jobs.
Yeah, let's talk about like how you got the job in consulting, and what are some like strategies and tips that you could give to some students who are looking into getting into the consulting industry.
I'm going to split it up into two phases first. There's going to be stuff you do before you get an interview and then after you get an interview. So before you get an interview for consulting, I think cover letter don't work. I don't care about cover letter. I personally didn't like writing one, and I personally had a hard time writing one. I mean, I got a job without it. I'm sure you can too. Cover letter isn't that important. Focus on resume. Make sure that thing is neat and clean, one page, very well organized, bullet points. Resume help. The business school will help you. Find mentors and find upperclassmen, even people who graduated who can help you on a resume. And there are templates online. I think Wharton Business School's resume template has been probably the most cited one. Everybody just use that. Don't go crazy, guys. Just use that one. And another thing before that is what you can do is you can prepare for the interviews, which is there's going to be two portions when you're going into the consulting industry. It's going to be behavioral interviews and then case interviews. You can look up how to do each of these online. Lots of material out there. I would just kind of practice verbalizing it, even writing it down maybe first couple of tries. That's how I did it. And then just practice on your own. Imagine you got the question and then kind of recite the answer back and make sure it's concise. Make sure it's within 1 minute, 2 minutes max. I think another thing that's really important is also, I would personally do this looking back, just apply for random internships that you don't really necessarily care about, just so you can get an interview and get interview practice. Just being in front of a person and being able to answer those questions, because when you do it alone and when you do it in front of a person, especially when they throw you curveballs and different questions that you weren't expecting, you'll be able to know and how to adapt and think on your feet. I think that's probably one of the biggest advice that I would give to other people. If you have these big firms that you really want to go to, apply to many others, and hopefully you can get a strategic plan so that you can get interviews from these beforehand so that you can practice. Now at the interviews, I think probably the biggest tip that I would give a person is I get very nervous when I was doing interviews initially, and a lot of it is two things. One, focus on the idea that if you don't get the job, maybe it was better that way. Maybe it's better for you that it wasn't a good fit, and whether or not, regardless of whether you're qualified or not qualified, maybe there's just a better job out there that's more suited for you and you get more experience, regardless of if it's a good company. I think just having that mindset will get your stress off your mind, and that's probably the biggest thing. Besides that, obviously you're still going to be stressed, so what I did was just keep telling myself, calm down, like relax just in my head repeatedly, breathe, and understand that the person you're talking to is not God, it's another human being. Regardless of if they're a partner and making $1 million a year, they're just another human being who's just given their afternoon lunch break to you to give you an interview. So don't think too much of it because they don't give a crap about you. Think of it like that if that helps you, but they care about you too. They care about you not that much, and it won't be a big deal. I think a lot of it overall is just preparing beforehand. And then I said behavioral and case interview, those two are going to be important. Case interview prep, I would start off with Victor Cheng Case in Point. Those are great places to start off of. And then do a lot of practice case interviews, do a lot of mock interviews. You can find Prep Lounge, Rocket Blocks communities, or even just people at your business school who would be willing to give you mock interviews. Do a lot of them. Done like 30, 40 on my own. The 9 or 10 that I did live practice helped me way more than the last 20 or 30 that I did on my own. So do a lot of live prep, case interviews. If that doesn't help, I would look at another research called crafting cases. They're tremendously helpful. Behavior interviews, if you can do the case interview portion, you should be able to do the behavioral ones. And if you can't, practice with other people. And there's plenty of questions online.
Really important to notice that it's all about practice, right? Without practice, you are not going to be able to be prepared for the interview and give the best quality interview for yourself. And I think it's important that practicing is important, but also recognize that there is no really big reason to get nervous, right? Like the interview that you're doing is also another person,
Yeah.
and just being nervous is not putting yourself into a better position to get the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there is a very valid reason for you to be nervous. Like, it's a big opportunity. If you get it, it's huge. So it's a lot of pressure, and understand that it can be nervous. But like you said, it's not helpful for you at all at the interview. So when you're at the interview, find ways to get stress off of it. Whether even if that means lying to yourself for a couple of minutes, 30 minutes, but just for that time frame, you can lie. Otherwise, don't lie. Usually
Yeah.
not work. One other thing I'll also mention is before the interview, there's things called referrals, which you can probably ask an upperclassman about it. If somebody gives you a referral, which is they send you a link to a job application that you want, you'll have a better shot of getting that job interview. I don't know for undergraduate campus recruitment, I don't know how much help it actually does, but it doesn't hurt because it doesn't cost anything. You can ask people on Fishbowl, say, can I get a referral for this? Or look at people who are offering referrals and then DM them, and then get referrals that way. I got all my referrals that way.
It was very good. Of having tips and advices for interviews are probably one of the most valuable assets you can possibly take from any person who has great experience. So I'm very happy to have you here and really giving that advice. What is the most important lesson you learned throughout your college year?
I mean, probably the most important, which is stuff I've already said already. Make sure you do something that you enjoy. And then, number two, just try everything. Take everything as an opportunity. You're paying thousands of dollars to be here. You can have fun. Have fun while you're at it. It's important. But understand that you're paying a lot of money. If you're not, your parents are. You can come out of this with a six-figure job. And if you don't, that was on you. Or that was your choice. So understanding those things, try things out, and then find something that you enjoy, you're interested in. I hate saying find your passion because I don't even know what that is. Just find something that's interesting to you and you think you'll be able to keep being interested in. Besides that, I think another thing is, I think this is a time where you understand how to build relationships. Make sure you don't forget about your friends, your family that you have, and then also understand that college isn't all about getting a job, but it's a lot of it. So try to find a balance between all those things. And in the end, understand that you come out of college 21, 22, you're so young. You can have so much opportunity anywhere. So try not to stress about it.
Thank you so much for having us for an interview, and I hope that these contents could be very beneficial for you. And I really wish that you can also help other people once you are in our position.